All right, shalom. Welcome to another Expert Insight interview. My name is John Golden from Sales Pop, online sales magazine, and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today, I'm delighted to be joined on the other coast by Zach Tsakiris, who is in Manhattan in New York. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing good, John. Great to be here.
Yeah, and Zach is from Financial Pro to Forbes #1 estate planning innovator. You're the founder of and CEO of Fastwill, and you're after seeing countless families go unprotected as a Manhattan financial advisor. You now help everyday Americans create legally binding estate plans in minutes, saving them thousands in attorney fees while ensuring their loved ones are protected. And that's what I want to talk about today is how you can protect your family, how you can estate plan, how you can do all of those things without costing you, thousands of thousands. Because let's face it, Zach, um, the use of technology in the attorney or the in the legal industry, it hasn't been used in order to make things efficient for customers. It's been used on maybe internally for attorneys, but let's face it, all those manual process, those long drawn out processes, the back and forth, all of that, that's good for lawyer business.
John, it's so interesting you mentioned that because that is actually something that I did not know as I got into this business is
Mhm.
that most attorneys already use software. So I did not know this at all. And I think sometimes people have this idea in their head that when they go and see an attorney, that somehow this attorney is going to sit down and sort of maybe handwrite something with a quill that goes down a whole
Yeah.
page. And a lot of people are unaware that 99% of attorneys already use software. So in
Yeah.
our business, one of our partners, Seth Schlessel, he has a large estate planning law firm here in the city. We actually expanded upon the software that he was using and then integrated in with some of our developers and scaled it out over 50 states. But you're absolutely right, John. It's a huge misconception that you need to see a high level estate planning attorney and spend potentially thousands of dollars to get a basic will in place. And one of the other things I tell people is that if you don't have a will already, you do. It's just that the government's going to make it for you, and that's called
Mm,
dying intestate. So
right.
most people have a will already. It's just not made for them. So it's something that takes 15 minutes to do. You can check it off the list, never think about it again, but it just makes things so much easier in the end.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. And as you said, I mean, most people shy away from doing this because they think it's going to take me a long time, it's going to be costly. And as I said, I mean, that's kind of played into the favor of the legal industry because they've been able to charge a lot of money for these things. But tell me, what have you done with your technology that is now enabling people to be able to leverage, top quality legal advice, but use technology to make it more affordable and efficient?
Absolutely. So we've built a really simple system where you can create either a will or a trust package. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to complete. You can go one question at a time. You can go at your own pace. If you'd like to access our attorney support feature as well, you have the option to meet with an estate planning attorney in your state. You also have the ability to sign and notarize your documents from home. So it's really a place you can do everything from home. You can create, sign, notarize, meet with attorneys. You can also meet with financial advisors if you have any questions on retirement, insurance, anything like that. So we really just did our best to create a one-stop shop for estate planning, get it done from home, 15 minutes, put it out of your mind, and move on.
Yeah, because let's face it, I mean, people, once upon a time, people would have been leery of doing their taxes online. They would have said, oh, no, I need to go to an attorney. But now, they're happy to leverage a lot of people. It's not complicated to leverage TurboTax and into all those kind of things. So I guess in the same way, this is, finally something comparable arriving with the legal industry where when things are pretty straightforward and whatever, you're able to do them pretty much online.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people associate attorneys with sort of this long, intimidating trip to paying at high hourly rates
Yep.
and stuff like that. And attorneys, oftentimes with the more basic stuff, they're charging that high hourly rate. When you really look at what length of detail they're going in the will, you should not be paying $800, $1,000, $1,200 for a basic will. You just shouldn't.
Mhm.
As you alluded to, John, in 2025, there's just so much technology that's catching up with all these sectors of financial services. And I think what we're going to see here in the next 20 years is I think a lot more people are going to be making wills and trusts online than meeting with attorneys. So that's something we really try to get ahead of. And we just do everything we can to make our system as optimized and easy to use as possible.
Yeah. Why is it? I mean, you mentioned that's kind of startling, or statistic about a lot of people don't have wills and they haven't done this. And I think there's a 60%
Yes.
statistic or something don't have. Why is it just it's a pain? It's just something you push off. I mean, what are the kind of reasons why people don't have wills?
I think it's a combination of things. I think that's part of it. I mean, it usually takes some sort of life event to sort of push someone
Hmm.
over the line to doing this. A family member passes away, or maybe something happens. I also think there isn't a lot of information out there, or maybe education in the sense that we get it, in the way that really letting people know what happens if they don't have a will. I think a lot of
Hmm.
people don't really understand that. I think they hear wills, they think, okay, I know I'm supposed to get a will done. Most people have kind of heard that from one person or another. It's the back of their mind, but they don't really. There's no pain point behind it. They don't really understand. Well, what happens if I don't have a will? And the answer to that question is probate.
Yeah.
And the probate process is just a very uncomfortable process in an already very stressful time.
Hmm.
So, to answer your question, I think the primary reason that 60% of people don't have wills would be a combination of the lack of information, and not knowing how nasty that probate court process can be. And then, as you alluded to, John, it's sometimes it could just be tough to think about, and you need something to kind of get you in
Right.
to really do it. And that's why our at home solution, we've really tried to focus in on being a one stop shop, because people are much more likely to get their estate planning done if they can do it from home and not have to go out to see an attorney.
Yeah, no, no, 100%, and I think that's the key to it, making it a frictionless experience. Then it becomes like, as I said, like those other ones, like doing your taxes. Even a lot of the medical stuff is done online now as well. I mean, it just becomes more convenient, and then hopefully that'll make a big impact on that 60% number. Because yeah, I mean, that's probably most people aren't aware of the pain it leaves because you're not really around when the pain comes, right? If it's you who
Exactly.
haven't made a will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think another misconception, John, is um, that trusts are somehow
Mhm.
for the ultra wealthy,
Right.
or you have to
Yeah.
have tens of millions of dollars to need a trust, or people think of trust fund kids or something like that.
Mhm.
And the reality is, um, I mean, most people that own a home, saving retirement, have children, really any assets that they've accumulated, most likely you need a trust. Um, a trust is what bypasses the probate court process, and that's another misconception about wills. Is some people think if I have a will, okay, then I bypass probate court. A
Mhm.
will is a set of instructions, so
Mhm.
the will's going to speed up the probate process by
Right.
giving the government the information, but the only thing that avoids that process is a trust. And sometimes people have this, well, we don't need that, we don't need it. And it's I mean, on our site you can get one for 4.99. There's other sites there as well. In 2025, it really, most people who own a home, save for retirement, have kids, should have a trust in place. And I think not a lot of people know about that.
Yeah, no, and I think it's a really important point because, as you said, I think most people associate having a trust is like, oh well, yeah, if I've got loads of money, I own businesses, I have properties or whatever, it makes sense. But just for ordinary me sitting here with my regular job and I just have a home and maybe a couple of retirement stuff, it's not for me. But as you say, it is for everybody. But again, it's been one of those things where I think people have been intimidated, like I'm going to talk to an estate attorney, about my estate, but I don't have an estate.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's something that, as you alluded to, John, people don't necessarily think of until it's too late.
Mhm.
It's similar to a prenuptial agreement in a way, where it's kind of something that people put off, they don't talk about, and they really regret it later on. And it's similar with a will in the sense that most people know that they need a will or trust in place, but the unfortunate thing is once that life event happens, there's really not much you can do. You'd have to
Mhm.
hire an attorney, pay the attorney to go through the probate process with you. That can be very expensive, and it's too late to set up a trust. So yeah, it's one of
Yeah.
those things that oftentimes people don't realize until it's too late.
Yeah, and frankly, as sad as it sounds, it's unfortunately anything to do with wills, or when there's a situation of somebody passing. Unfortunately, the better things are tied up and neatly done in advance, the more the smoother the transition is will be, because unfortunately it is a time that can cause issues that were unforeseen, and it can cause often big family issues, unfortunately.
Absolutely. The other thing I'd like to touch on as well is, you know, with our online solution, though it is very easy to use, I think sometimes
Mhm.
people do have the misconception that seeing an attorney in person would somehow be more detailed than
Right.
doing one online. And as we spoke about at the beginning, most of these attorneys are using software as it is. So, for example, with our system, I mean, we have a pet section, a social media section, lots of areas for customizations. You can request to play a certain song at your burial. It's a very easy to use process, but it's also very detailed. So that's another thing that I like to tell people is, if you do have hesitancy about creating documents
Mhm.
online, not only can you meet with an attorney after you're done using our attorney support, but you also are going to be able to include all of those things that you might have thought, well, this is too specific. I couldn't tell
Right.
someone to play Metallica during my ceremony. I'd have to go to an attorney to that. Oh, you
Yeah.
can. There's lots of customizations you can include. So that's another misconception, that somehow meeting with an attorney in person is going to somehow give you more detail on some of these things that people
Yeah.
have in mind.
Yeah. And how do you think AI is going to impact your technology moving forward, and maybe the industry itself? Because I think it's going to have a big impact on legal.
It's such a great question. And we get this all the time. And I'll tell you the issue right now with AI. Because we integrate AI in many different aspects of our business. And in fact, towards Q4 of this year, we're going to integrate AI in our interface so you can actually communicate back and forth with our AI attorney while you create the documents. The
Right.
issue with AI as it stands right now is a lot of it is open source. So
Hmm.
it's collecting information from all the open thing is, as you know, with wills and trusts, this is not the thing that you want to get
Yeah.
99 out of 100 times right. Right? We
Hmm.
want to make sure that we're not using open source information to draft legal documents, especially when all the state requirements are so different. We have state
Yeah.
advanced care directive forms. The laws can change. So AI is amazing. We're integrating a lot of AI in our support systems in the back and forth integration, but we're not quite there yet to where you could really just trust ChatGPT to just write up a quick will.
Mm.
It's really
Yeah.
not there yet. Our partner, Vincent Wong, is he spent 20 years in AI algorithmic trading software. So he's like the whiz at that stuff. I
Hmm.
come from a financial services background, and I would ask him, well, why not just ChatGPT? I mean, can we just make one of these? And
Yeah.
the reality is, all of our documents are created by attorneys and customized
Right.
by the users. And you need
Hmm.
that information created by attorneys. It's just not to the point yet where you can trust an open source system to be collecting state laws, state regulations. Because if nine of them are right and one of them is wrong,
Yeah.
not good. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a good defense in court, that one, unfortunately. Blame it on the AI.
Absolutely. But it's a great question, and we're trying to integrate AI in
Mhm.
all aspects of our business because we're big believers in AI. We just believe in putting it in sort of where it fits, and right now that's much more on the support level than the actual document construction side of things. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and it makes perfect sense, and we would agree. I think that's the correct use for AI right now, is very much in a supportive manner. Same with what we're doing on the sales side and with Pipeline or CRM, very much in a supportive manner to elevate the actual salesperson and their skills. Same thing is with your system is, you want attorneys doing the more creative, high level work rather than just doing the more mundane or routine stuff.
Absolutely. And there are situations where people should go meet with an estate planning attorney.
Mhm.
if you have a 20, 30, $50 million estate with a bunch of commercial real estate and you need to open up an irrevocable life insurance trust so you don't have to liquidate and you can pay the,
Mhm.
most people don't have that situation, right? Most people
Yeah.
just need a standard will or a revocable trust. So that's really where our solution is. That average person that's been saving for retirement, anywhere from 500,000 to 2 million in liquid assets, that's really our sweet spot. There are those cases out there that you might want to meet with an estate planning attorney, but 9 times out of 10, that's really not the case. It's a big misconception that the average person should be meeting with a estate planning attorney.
Mm. And generally speaking, just ballpark, I know it's different in different parts of the country, but what are people what are people often spending on meeting with an attorney for a simple will or meeting with an attorney for a simple estate plan?
It's a great question. If I had to give an average, I would say around between 800 to 1200 for a
Right.
will and around 3000 to 5000 for a trust. I
Yeah.
give that average just completely discounting New York because New York is just
Sure.
insane. I mean, you'll
Yeah,
have
yeah,
some
yeah.
attorneys here that do 15,000
Quadruple that.
for a trust, but exactly, just in that range of 8 to 1200, and then for the will, and then 3 to 5000 for the trust, I would say. And again, it can absolutely range, but the reality is, a simple will, a revocable trust, you should be paying nowhere near $1,000 for a simple will.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, as you said, I mean, those are reasons obviously that probably put a lot of people off because especially if you don't have a lot of disposable income or whatever, like a, 3 or 4 grand to write up a document, you're gonna probably push that to the side for as long as you can.
Absolutely. And who knows how much money they're losing, by not not getting these things in order, because people don't understand they have to pay an attorney to represent them in probate. So you're still paying
Mhm.
money.
Right.
It's just, are you paying money now or are you paying money later?
Yeah. So what are your future plans for Fast Will?
Yeah, so I think our future plans, at least for Q4 into 2026 of next year, is we're working on some very large enterprise partnerships with some pretty big players in the financial service space. I don't want to name any names right
Sure.
now, but that's really where we see ourselves headed, is very high up in the RIA, insurance brokerage, and group benefits space. We have a very, very cool platform that we've built that allows advisors and agents to integrate in, send wills and trusts to clients, manage portfolios, stuff like that. So we've experienced a bunch of organic growth on that B2B side of things. So we're working on some pretty massive partnerships with some big players on that space, of these institutions that would like to incorporate wills and trust into their planning. And then I would say the other side would just be scaling up our B2C funnel. We've had an enormous amount of growth in 2025, and there's lots of exciting opportunities with us, especially with adding on things like deed transfer and probate court are some things that we're bringing on later in the year. So yeah, expanding those B2B distribution systems, and of course always trying to improve our product. Um, which we're very fortunate to have some great engineers on the team. That's not my background, but yeah, we're always improving our technology, always improving the product.
Yeah, and this really is part of. I mean, and this is what is great about technology, kind of democratization of services, isn't it? Because now you're putting services that people maybe perceived that were outside of their reach. You're putting it in the hands of a lot more people.
Absolutely. And that's really what it's all about. And as we alluded to at the beginning, a lot of people have a misconception that they might need a professional, or they might need something out, that they might need outside support to make these basic decisions. And anyone can create a will or a trust in about 15 minutes at any time.
Mhm.
So I would encourage anyone listening to this of just to do it. Just get it done. It takes 10, 15 minutes. So it's one of those things that you'll feel a million times better after you finish. And it's just, you'll laugh at how much mental energy you spent putting it off versus the amount it took
Right.
to get done. So very easy to do, takes 10 minutes, and just really, really helps a lot.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks again, Zach. All of Zach's information will be below this video. But before we go, just remind people again the company is
Fast will,
Fastwill,
fast will,
fastwill.com. And all that information will be below here.
fastwill.com.
So So thanks again, Zach. Thank you for watching and listening, and I will see you all again very soon. Thank you.